Good morning to one and all. In the previous class, we discussed about two tests related to shear strength of the soil. Those are direct shear stress, and second one is the triaxial shear stress. Those two stresses are found with the help of two experiments. Those are direct shear test experiment and triaxial test experiment. Those two are the majorly laboratory testing methods. Why? Because in the field we don't have to permit to conduct those experiments. We need a huge amount of loads, and the second one is we need some quantities of bearing equipment, so that in the field we are having some quantities of irregularities. Whenever we are using bearings, automatically our equipments will having no proper friction, so that we will get a less quantity of accuracy, so that those two experiments have to conduct on labs itself. So after that two experiments, we are having some three number of experiments. Those are related to this shear tests. Why? Because if the shear strength of the soil is very weak in the position, that means very weak automatically whenever we are having a huge amount of content of water, automatically water, the soil will have a tendency to slide against the forces offering on the structure. That means normally forces from the structure are in vertical direction, and from water content we are having on the soil, those are having another direction, both horizontal direction and in the form of vertical direction. We are having applied forces. Due to those, some quantities of torque or sliding takes place. Due to those sliding, we are forming a shear, so that this shear will be occurred on the soil. To control those, what are the precautionary measures we have to do in the site itself? Those things we have to discuss in this chapter. So that first two experiments we have to know. Otherwise, how the shear will forms, what are the precautionary measures we have to take, how that strength will be obtained, all those things we don't know without knowing these two tests. Other things we have to know what they are is direct simple shear test, and torsion ring shear test, and plain strain triaxial test. These three things are not necessary. First we have a knowledge what are the other kinds of shear tests, how they will perform in the laboratories. These three are the laboratory shear tests which are related to find out the shear strength. First one is the direct simple shear test. This direct simple shear test, how we have to perform in the lab. For suppose it is a triangular like portion, that means normally these triangular like portions we will obtain whenever a structure having embankment. That means normally structure has to bear huge amount of compressive loads, so that within a portion it is not possible to transfer all the loads directly into the soil surface, so that we have to require some quantities of additional space. Those space will be responsible for the transferring of those extra amount of forces in horizontal direction and vertical direction. Normally from our structure only vertical forces are transferred through column, through footing and soil. But in case of some other structures like these roads and other soil related structures, those are having some huge amount of contact with surrounding areas due to lack of these foundations. Normally for a road is also a load bearing structure with the help of vehicles. That means vehicles will transfer all huge amount of loads to the soil and subsoil, so that there is no foundation, only a surface layer is there. The total surface layer is responsible for transferring of the loads, so that below the surface layer we are having subsurface and subsurface deep, that beneath the ground level we are having some different layers. Those layers are responsible for transferring and taking of loads, so that we have to construct embankment to support the layer by layer techniques in the roads. Here we are having embankment like surface. From that embankment like surface, simply we are taking a rectangular like portion. On that portion, how the stresses will perform due to the action of direct loads. In that particular cell we are having two quantities of forces which are represented with the help of blue color and red color diagrams. Blue color diagram is normally represented for compressive strength, and red color diagram is represented for the shear strength. In this particular diagram itself, the portion is the top of the diagram we are having a portion. On that particular portion we are having a rectangle with the help of a circle but with dotted lines. Those dotted lines are taken in the bottom surface. In the bottom surface here we have planes. That means normally shear strength will forms whenever the soil having a layer by layer. If it is a combined mass, there may be less quantity of formation of this shear force. If there are layers, automatically shear stress will be formed very much easily compared to a normal soil. But in case of our diagram we are having two layers, so that there may be some quantity of shear stress we have to face. So that what is the shear stress, how we have to control, that means on the other hand we are having a sway. Normally sway means drift. That means drift means also a change of position from a normal level. That means normally we are having a square portion. So that due to the application of these lateral forces and compressive forces, the square may be transformed to a rhombus. Okay, here we are obtaining a rhombus with some quantity of sway. That is the porous stones due to those the vertical sway is represented with the help of this red color arrow. Those red color arrow is the application of this shear force on the structure. So that those angle, that means the shear angle, we have to represent with the help of phi, the term phi. Here we are having a phi equal to 80 mm. That is the direct simple shear stress. It is also we have to perform in the lab itself. Simply we have to take a particular quantity of material and we need to perform, and we have to find out the shear angle in the form of phi. And second test we are having is torsional ring shear test. These are the not necessary for conducting purpose, only we have to know. This is the torsional shear ring test. In this also we have to find out the angle phi. Okay, here we are having an embankment. On embankment also we are having on the top level and bottom level with some quantity of marking with a black color. On the remaining portion we are not having any marking. And in the bottom we are having two quantities of these pictures. That means two quantities of pictures with representation of diagrams. Okay, stress strain diagram. Here we are having to observe peak level and residual level. That means the maximum stress is obtained at a peak level at a point of represented with the help of this red dotted line. The normal level is represented with the help of this green cover, residual level and peak level. So those things we have to observe. In the other hand we are having a tau f and a sigma. That means stress strain curve. Here also we are having two quantities of representations with the help of red and green colors. That means peak level value and residual value of shear angle, that means phi. This is the torsional ring shear test. How we have to find out? Simply we are having a ring like pattern. On this particular ring like pattern, from the top surface we are have to apply a particular quantity of load. That means if the soil, how much amount of soil we have to take, all those things are prescribed in our geotechnical lab. It means the lab manual itself we are having all those values. By using those data we have to perform the experiment. The I need to enlarge this diagram. In this particular diagram we are having a top and bottom two surfaces. On the top surfaces we are having a scratched portion, a top loading cap. That means on the that means that in the shape of simply U or C shape. That means Normally in our steel structures we are having these patterns, it is a C-section like, so that we have to notate the frame with the C-section, so that inverted C-section it is, that means simply facing on above the rings, so that from the C-section itself we have to apply the load. Why? Because C-section having two flanges and a web. From the on the web we are applying a particular quantity of load. The total load will be transferred through flanges on the member, so that the member has to bear a load. Here sample 1 we are having, and sample 2, upper ring and lower ring and a plane of shear. That means from that particular point we have to apply a shear load, so that how the plane will act. From the top, sand, gravel and different quantities of materials also fill it in the cube itself. From the top surface we are applying a force, that means force applying, and the stress developed in the material we will call as a sigma. Due to the, normally stress means the force developed in a body against the application load, it is called as a stress. Here the stress is sigma n. Preparation of ring shaped unusual symbols is very difficult, therefore removable samples are used to most cases. And next to third one is the plane strain triaxial stress. This is the plane strain triaxial test. Here also we are having three quantities of forces. Upper side, that means on the top level or vertical plane, we are having a force of sigma 1 dash, and vertical horizontal plane we are having sigma 2, and on the along z axis we are having a specimen sigma 3. That means on three sides, on three planes we are having a application of forces. Due to those three kinds of applications of forces, what is the deformation we have to face? That means on the structure how it deforms due to those application of three quantities of forces on the material. Those things we have to observe. And here what we have to note is sigma 2 is not equal to sigma 3. Most of the persons are simply confusing. Why? Because those two forces are along in one direction, that means x direction and z direction. Normally in our drawing cases we have to take x equal to z. Why? Because those two are in simply one plane we are observing, so that simply they are taking sigma 2 equal to sigma t. But in case of plane strain, the sigma 2 value and sigma 3 value are not equal. Those two are different values, so that sigma 1 and sigma 2 and sigma 3, those three are different in nature. That means according to its values. After that we have to observe what are the field tests. That means till now we are studied all 5 tests related to shear strength of the soil. Those 5 tests are simply conducting in the lab itself because of their equipments and dial gauges. All those are related to only lab purpose. Those are not have to conduct in the site, due to this application of temperature and other surrounding features will affect those values. After that, field tests we are having. What are those field tests related to this shear strength of the soil? First of all, vane shear test we are having, tar vane, pocket penetrometer, pressure meter, static cone penetrometer test, and a standard penetration test. Okay, these are all related to shear strength. Whenever the shear strength is developing on the body, means automatically if there is a water content present in the soil, due to those content of water presence, automatically shear stress will be developed, and layer by layer the total soil will behave as a layer by layer phenomena. Due to those layer by layer phenomena, this shear stress develops, so that first of all we need to restrict the amount of water penetrating into the substructure. Then only we are having a grip to our structure. So that we have to perform these kind of actions. The from last one we have to observe standard penetration test. If the penetration means automatically if the soil is very weak in nature, then only penetration takes place. Whenever the soil goes to weak, means automatically if there is any water content is there. Normally we have to observe whenever we are walking on the road surface. If the road surface is not having any amount of water, we have to walk in a simple manner. That means without any slipping or any damage, we have to walk. Whenever there is a water content is present on the top layers of the road surface, we need to walk with a care. That means we need to take some quantities of carefulness. That means careness. Otherwise, simply we have to slip. Why? Because the water will acts as a another layer on the surface. Due to those layer by layer, whenever we are applying our foot on the particular quantities of surface, it will definitely acts as a layer by layer. There may be sliding occurs. Those sliding will occurs. Why? Because presence of water on the surface level, so that the water absorption and water present on the structure is very that means very complex, and we have to face huge amount of problems, so that we are dewatering. That means we are taking a dewatering action. In the second chapter, the total second chapter is related to dewatering. Why we are going for dewatering means automatically whenever we are having water, automatically these problems we have to face. So that to restrict those problems, simply we are taking those water from the soil and we are allowing in another fields. Penetration, this is the related to penetration. Next one is the static cone penetrometer test. That means static cone penetrometer, it is also related to a penetration values. Next one, pressure meter. Pressure means simply a stress or any force applying on the structure, it is pressure meter. And pocket penetrometer, it is also a small equipment. Pocket penetrometer, it is also related to penetration. Next one is the tar vein and shear vein. Those two are completely different compared to these penetration tests. These all tests we need to perform in the site itself. Why? Because we have to note different quantities of values in different intervals of lengths. That means normally if the soil we are having a 1 acre or 2 acres of land, so that we need to convert those total 2 acres or quantity of land into a number of parts, so that from each part we have to take a sample and we need to test these values. That means test these shear tests, then only we will get a accurate value. That means we have to, after getting all those values, we need to equalize and we have to take an empirical value from all those, then only we will get accurate values. Vein shear test is suitable for soft and clay or stiff soils. Tar vein and penetrometer, that means for each test what is the importance we have to observe. It is a vein shear tests. In that particular vein shear test, we are having totally a plus box is there. On the plus box, simply we are applying a torque. Torque means it is a rotational force. Rotational force is applying on the structure in the form of a torque. Normally torque we have represented with the letter of T. And this force is distributed soil and the rupture of the surface. Rupture means automatically whenever we are conducting these experiments on the soil, automatically there may be some quantity of rupture up to a particular depth. Why? Because simply we are removing the total soil with the help of mechanized equipments. Due to those mechanization of equipments and applying forces on the soil, some quantity of soil surface will be disturbed due to this action of torque and other forces on the soil. And the rate of penetration rotation also here. That means rate of rotation means simply we need to rotate a structure. That means it is steel part, so that it have to rotate a 6 to 12 degrees per minute. That means 6 to 12 degrees means for a complete circle we are having a 360 degrees, so that for each minute they have to rotate a minimum value of 6 minutes and a maximum value of 12 minutes. The value will not be decrease or will not be increase. Only in those limits only we need to conduct the experiments, then only we will get an accurate values. If we are doing a very fast, automatically we will have to get a fault values. Test can be conducted at 0.5 meters vertical intervals. That means 0.5 meters means simply a 1.5 feet or 2 feet level we have to conduct these experiments. and this is one of the most versatile and widely used devices for the investigation of underdrained shear strength and sensitivity of soft clays. That means this equipment this test is not suitable for granular soils. Only for red soils we have to conduct this test in the sites. This is the application of a vane shear test and how the forces will apply on the surrounding levels. Here we are having totally 4 planes. From those 4 planes we are having application of stress on the length, that means vertical plane we are having a force in the form of blue color. On the top surface we are having a force in the form of red color, so that two quantities of forces are applying on the structure in the form of red and blue colors. Those are Cu, that means H also here, that means total height of the particular equipment, and T equal to, that means T equal to torsion equal to ms plus me plus me. That means ms means normally we are having blue colored portion on one plane and red color portion on two planes. That means top portion and bottom portion we are having two red color portions. That means totally 4 plus 4, 8 parts we are having a red symbols, and only 4 parts we are having blue symbol, so that ms is represented for blue symbol and m is represented for red color symbols. Totally ms plus 2 me, so that there is a value me equal to 0 to d by 2 2 pi r dr into cwr. Me equal to 2 pi by 2 pi cu by 3 d cube by 8. These are the empirical formulas how we have to conduct the experiments, and logarithmic graph also there. These are the values we will get. That means normally d means diameter of the borehole, h is the height of the hole. By using those two formulas, diameter of the hole and height of the hole and torsion force applied on the structure, we will get the cu values. Okay, only those two things we have to observe: diameter of the hole and height of the hole, and torsion we are applying. Why? Because simply we are giving a blows of 6 to 12 degrees per minute, so that for 6 to 12 degrees we are having a special torque value. So those torque values we have to substitute here, when we will get the values of cu. After getting the cu values, simply we have to substitute in the above equations, we will get those values. These are the values we will get. Okay, this is another kind of values. This is the graph how we have to get after the substituting of those values. Sensitivity equal to peak strength by ultimate strength. Since the test is very last, that means very fast, it confined and you can be specified. Some important facts on this shear stress. What are those means? So first of all, intersection of vein into soft glass and silts disturbs the natural soil structure around the vein, causing a reduction of shear strength. That means in a different intervals of lengths we have to take these experiments, so that on those different intervals that soil will be weakened. After the completion of this test, we need to densify the soil simply by giving that means simply by pouring the soil into the holes, and simply we have to give a number of blows to densify the soil. Otherwise, if there is any entrainment of water due to rain or any other natural slope, automatically soil will become weak. That is the main philosophy. And next one is that the above reduction is partially regained after some time. That means in the initial stage we are getting a small quantity of reduction of strength due to this application of tests in the soil itself, that means field itself, so that after a few days, that means it may be a week or month, we will get the normal strength of the soil because of these settlements due to wind or any other natural climates. And cu is determined by the vane shear tests, maybe a function of rate of angular rotation of the vane. That means angular rotation of the vane. Why we are using vane means normally vane is responsible for applying of these torsional forces onto the soil surface, so that simply we are using this vane equipment. for application of torque forces. Due to those torque forces, simply we have to calculate this diameter and this height. After the getting of diameter and height, we will get the Cu values and M values. Correction for the strength parameters obtained from the Vane shear test. What are those correction factors are? These are the correction factors prescribed by the researchers. Bedgram 1974 has shown the plasticity of the soil increases. Cu obtained by Vane shear test may be give unsafe results for foundation design, so that there may be proposed for the following correction, so that we have to take some quantities of precautions, otherwise we will get some fault values or wrong values, so that we have to take some quantities of precautions simply by multiplying those values with partial safety factors, like here we are having a lambda, so that lambda equal to correction factor we have to multiply with 1.7 to 0.54 into plasticity index, log of plasticity index, then only we will get this plasticity Cu value. Next one is the field vane shear test. This field vane shear test is a normal equipment. This normal equipment we have to observe in the diagrams. That means in the diagrams we are having a top portion and bottom three portions. By using those equipments, simply they will give a that means give a particular force into the soil. Due to the application of force, they will calculate how many number of rotations that the equipment made, what is the time required for that calculation of those rotations. All those things they will observe, and simply due to those calculations and notations, simply all those are programmed with the help of these chips. That means internal chips we are having, they are having some arrangement of internal chips, and programs also written to those, so that simply they will give direct values for the shear test. Here we are having, this is the experiment. After that we are having pocket penetrometer. This is the pocket penetrometer. Simply we need to take some quantity of material, that means some quantity of material from the soil itself, so that the total soil is responsible for the values. We need to add some 1 to 2% of water, and we have to make it as a plastic, that means a plastic state, so that after the plastic state of soil we need to penetrate the knob into the soil, that means this rounded shape, so that this will directly gives the value. This will directly gives the value of penetration. Swedish fall cone test. The next one is the, this is the soil sample. Then they will give some quantity of penetration. With the help of that, the test must be calibrated, and Cu is proportional to mass of the cone, the directly proportional to 1 by penetration square. Swedish fall cone, susceptible to very soft to soft clays. Next one is a pressure meter. Normally these pressure meters we will observe in the fields itself, that means labs itself. In some of the cases we need to take over into the sites, and we have to conduct the experiments. Pressure meters, that means simply we are having a pump. That pump is simply pushing into the soil profile with the help of some quantity of water. Why? Because normally these penetrometers will not penetrating into the soil, due to the soil having huge amount of bonding with surrounding particles. Whenever we are injecting some quantity of water, automatically those bonds will be weakened. Due to those weakening of the bonds, automatically these pressure meters will penetrating into the surface. This is the total diagram. In the diagram itself we are having 3 dial gauges in the itself. Those dial gauges are responsible for giving the load values. Pressure meter and water and air and a coastal tube we are having, and a pre-bored or self-bored hole, and a guard cell, and a measuring cell, and bottom also we are having a guard cell. So that these are the typical part and arrangement of the particular pressure meter. In this pressure meter, what we have to take is first of all initially a pipe is there, so that from the pipe itself some quantity of air and water both are pumping with some quantity of force. Why? Because if we don't pump with the force, automatically water and air will not enter into the soil surface. If you are using force, means automatically due to the action of this force, the water content and the air content both will penetrating into the soil layers. Then only the soil becomes weak. And the bottom we are having a guard cell. That means guard cell is directly penetrating into the soil due to the action of force application. In between the guard cell to guard cell, we are having some quantity of measuring cells. Those measuring cells are responsible for how much amount of force simply we are applying on the soil. Bottom guard cell and top guard cell directly give values to the measuring cell, and a pre-bored self-bored hole is there on the top surface. From those values we have to calculate these diagrams. That means simply we have to draw those graphs. In this particular graphs we are having a pseudo elastic phase and elastic phases. With the help of this time and pressure, that means in the initial stage the application of force will be very less. After one or 2 minutes, simply the force application will be fast. And why? Because the top layer removal will take for a little bit of time. After the removal of top layer, simply the equipment will goes easily due to the application of this pressure and water content into the soil layers. So that we will get the graph in a progressive way. That means progression means automatically increment values, decretion means decrement values. Progression and decretion, those two things we have to observe whenever we are having a graph. Here also in the bottom parts we are having a pressure and a volumetric expansion. That means when we are applying a pressure, that means in the initial stage we are having a pressure of 0. After that simply we are increasing the pressure from 1 2 3 4 up to a 20 or 30, so that the volumetric change also is in progression. That means simply at 0 to there may be reached up to 5, after that 10, after that there may be some constant improvement to a larger value. This is the constant progression of the graph. Pressure meter, this is the typical arrangement for the pressure meter. After that, a static cone penetrometer test. That means here we are having a static cone penetrometer. So that due to this static cone penetrometer, how we have to find means a cone is used to penetrate into the soil with the help of external forces. In the previous case we are using simply water and some quantity of air pressures to a cells. But in case of here there is a completely mechanical equipment. Like this mechanical equipment simply penetrating into the soil, and this directly gives the values. Cone penetrometers with pore water pressures measurements capacity as known as piezo cones. Cone penetrometers with cone penetrometer means normally the penetrometer in the bottom surface we are having a shape of cone. Why? Because cone means automatically a typical, that means a sharp edge at the starting, and after that initially the edge will be expanding on progression way, so that it will be easier. So that normally when we have to apply a force on a larger strata, it will take huge amount of time. So that when we have to apply a force on a small point, it will take a less quantity of time. So that simply in the initially they are applying a force on the small point, after that simply they are giving huge amount of force. Cone penetrometers with pore water pressures. What are the points related to this cone water penetrometer? First of all, force required for the inner rod to push the tip and the total force required to push both the tip and steve, that means Fc plus Fs will be measured. Point of resistance equal to Fc by area of the tip and the sieve resistance equal to Fs by area of the sieve in a contact with the soil. So that friction ratio Fs equal to Qs by Qc into 100. Normally ratios we will measure with the percentage. Here also we are having a percentage value. Various corrections have to be developed to determine the soil strength parameters. C5, that means cohesion forces, and this is shear angles. C means cohesion force, phi is the shear angles, etc. from this friction for penetrometer tests. What are there in the penetrometer test means normally we have to apply a quantity of force from inner rod to push the tip. In the previous case we are having a rod, that means the total rod is in the shape, total rod in the shape color of normally a orange color with some scratched portion. After that orange portion we are having a two colors, a green color and a violet color. So that orange colored portion of rod is totally connected with this tip. That means tip means normally on the bottom scale we are having a tip. The total tip is responsible for giving, here we are having, I will show, this is the total tip. The tip having a capacity to do holes into the soil, and after that Fc plus Fs will be measured. Point resistance equal to Qs equal to Fc by area of the tip. That means area of tip also responsible for taking values. If the area of tip is very high, automatically we will get less point of resistance. Why? Because area of a point is very high means definitely the rod will not penetrate into the soil in easy manner. Why? Because we have to apply huge amount of force if the surface of the point is very large. Point of resistance Fc and area of the tip. After that, getting this Qc value and Qs value, we have to find out the friction ratio. Next one is standard penetration test. This standard penetration test also having a drilling rod. SPT we will call it as a standard penetration test. This particular standard penetration test we have to use in most widely. That means in the previous cases are responsible for some of the fields according to their fineness values and particle sizes, but this standard penetration test is mostly used test in the soils. Why? Because it will give accurate values and it operation also very easy. SPT is the most widely used test procedure to determine the properties of in situ soils. That means whatever the soils of different classification, all those are responsible for giving these SPT values. Number of blows, that means normally blow means whenever we are doing a concrete technology lab, in this particular concrete technology lab, in workability test, automatically we have to give a blows, that means 15 blows to 20 blows for every layer for the compaction of concrete. Likely here also we have to give a blows to penetrate the probe into the soil. So number of blows for the first 150 mm penetration is disengaged due to the disturbance likely to exist in the bottom of the drill hole. What we have to understand is the number of blows for the first 150 mm penetration. 150 mm means simply a 15 centimeter. Here we have to penetrate the total drill rod into the soil surface, so that we have to penetrate the total rod up to a 150 mm. So that number of blows required for the penetration of 150 mm also we have to record. For the first blow, what is the amount of penetration due to the first blow. After that we have to give a second blow, what is the amount of penetration. Likely for each and every blow we need to observe what is the amount of penetration. What is the change? That means change between the penetration value to penetration value. We have to observe. And the bottom also we are having is observations. 0.15 meters number of blows N1, 0.15 meters number of blows N2, and line 3 likely for each and every 150 mm of penetration we have to observe what are the blows required for those penetration values. Standard penetration resistance equal to N1 plus N2. That means how many number of penetrations we have done, all those values we have to that means we have to add N1 plus N2 plus N3 likely. Here they are directly giving SPT value with the help of humans. They are simply arranging a tripod like stand, that means a steel stand that will directly gives a point, that means directly give a point load onto the penetration tube, so that they are giving simply dropping a force from the top the particular height. Due to this application of force from a particular height, definitely there may be a small amount of penetration into the soil, probe penetration into the soil, so that we have to account those forces. Various corrections for shear strength, those are Cu by sigma equal to 0.11 plus 0.0037 into Pi. That means Pi is the plasticity index of the soil with the help of percentage. Shear strength of partially saturated soils and fully saturated soils. Normally fully saturated means automatically the total soil is associated with the water particles. Partially saturated means only some part of the soil having water content, the remaining total part is in dry stage. Here also we are having two quantities of surfaces. One is saturated soil, second one is unsaturated soil. That means on the top portion we are having water, on the bottom portion we are having a solid portion on first diagram. But in case of second diagram we are having both solid water and air content. This is the difference between saturation and unsaturation. In the saturation part we are not having air pressure, but in case of unsaturated soils we are having both air pressure and water pressure. In the previous sections we are discussing about the shear strength of the saturated soils, how in most of the cases we will encounter unsaturated soils into a typical topographical countries like Sri Lanka. Why? Because Sri Lanka is totally having water content around its periphery. But in case of our Indian region, we are having only three sites is having water content. Those are also salt waters. But in case of Sri Lanka, the total country is having a cover of salt. That means totally in the sea. It is a island. Shear strength of partially saturated soils. What are the formulas used for those? Here they mentioned TF and TF for fully saturated soils and partially saturated soils. Here also fully saturated soils and partially saturated soils we are having different formulas with the help of this phi. Normally phi is the shear stress, and that means angle of shear stress. How it will become possible to build a sand castle? Because of this shear properties. Sand having a less content of shear force, whenever we are applying a small quantity of force, automatically the total structure will fails because of less amount of bonding between particle to particle. But in case of red soil, it will having some amount of plasticity index, so that it will have to bear some quantity of erosional loads compared to these sand soils. But in case of these granites and others, they are having huge amount of bonds, so that normally whenever we are having a quarries, we have to observe those quarries are having to blast. Without blasting they won't get the aggregate. Why? Because there is a huge amount of strength, so that to break those strength they are using these granites. But in case of sand quarrying, there is no usage of any external forces. Simply we have to use a tractor and other crane. Simply crane is responsible for picking of material and filling into the tractor. But in case of stone quarrying, we have to use blastings. After that we need to grind and we have to sieve. After that sieving is over, we have to bifurcate into a 5 mm aggregate, 10 mm aggregate, 20 mm aggregate and 40 mm aggregate. After that we have to fill with this in the help of crane and lifting mechanism into the lorries. This is the difference. The total difference between fine aggregate and coarse aggregate is the bonding is very much low. In case of fine aggregate, bonding is very high. So that normally coarse aggregates are responsible for bearing of compressive strengths. Okay, fine aggregates are used as a filling materials. Ranges of friction angles of soils in terms of degrees. For a gravel, it is having a 30 to 35 degrees. For a mixture of gravel sand with fine grained soils, it is 30 to 40 degrees. Likely, the values will be changing. But in case of clays, 20 to 30 degrees. The least value will obtain in clays. After that, we will obtain in sand. The maximum value we will get in gravel. That what I previously discussed. Why we have to blast in gravel? Why we have to quarry in sand? Why? Because of this friction angles and particle bonding. This is the failure criteria and Morse theory and Coulomb theory and Taylor's theory. All those theories are not useful. Why? Because it is not a it is an elective subject completely related to we have to observe different case studies and different techniques involved in the design part. These are the different values responsible for those n and d values, diameters and angle of shears. Normally we are having N60, that means particle size, coarse grained and fine grained. Empirical soil strength relationships. This is the how the forces will be applied on the different shapes of a structure. That means normally we are having a solid square solid. In this particular square solid, we are having application of forces in 3 direction towards the center. But in the second case, we are having the solid in particular vertical direction, so that there may be some angle is there. In the embankment itself, we are having some quantity of slope we have to maintain. In this particular slopes, how the particle behaves and how the forces will act, so that some quantity of forces are towards the edges and some forces are towards the center, so that two quantities of force. But in case of first one, the total forces are acting only at the center point. But in case of second diagram, we are having forces acting at center and edges. In two cases we are having. After third condition, we are having totally forces acting downwards. It is also different structures. That means normally we are having steel structures and concrete structures, and next one these pile foundations. That means foundations which are used for the construction of these bridges. Normally bridges having a pier and a pile, two components. The total load was beared by this pier cap. From the pier cap, the total load is transferred to pier. From the pier, the load is distributed into pile cap. From the pile cap, the load is distributed into piles. From the piles, the load is transferred to soil. That is the transferring mechanism. But in case of foundation, the total load will be transferred from slab to beam, beam to column, and column to footing, and footing to the below soil surface. Here we have to observe how the stress will be distributed in different cases. And different foundations also here they mentioned. TC means triaxial compression forces, TA means triaxial extension forces, DSS means direct simple shear, direct shear. Those forces are normally generated in the structures of foundation. Some of the practical cases in the laboratory strength of the tests, especially these are different tests we have to triaxial compression, triaxial extension, direct simple stress, and direct shear stress. Okay, these are the practical approaches for finding shear strength of the soil. Normally, without knowing this practical knowledge, what we have to study is what we are studying is simply we are having some quantity of confusion. After this class, we will definitely go to densification of the soil, then different mediums. That means lime stabilizations are there in the densification. Stabilizations are one of the part. In those particular stabilizations, we are having to use different quantities of materials. That means first of all we have to use lime and cement, bitumen, and other industrial wastes to strengthen the soil surfaces.